Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I'm Rachel with my coffee, with my books and my reviews, as well as some rain. I'm going to turn my little volume up here just a second. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, welcome. And if you are a returning book lover, then welcome back. I am diving into a book called The Secret Investigator of Astor Street, a Pier Sail mystery. Now, technically, this is book 2, but I do think we get enough kind of backstory as we go through this book to understand what investigation number 1 was. And even though I don't know. I think I know enough about the first one to feel good about maybe not going back and reading it. I feel like I have quite a few on my TBRs. However, I really do like Piper as this little private investigator. So let us just dive into her story and we'll go from there. Oh, goodness. So I was scrolling, and instead of hitting show more, I hit historical because it is considered historical fiction. And that was just not what I intended to do. After high school graduation, Pier Sail isn't quite sure what her future holds until a possible murder case lands in her lap. Filled with both glitz and glamour of high society and the dark mafia underbelly of 1920s Chicago, The Secret Investigator of Astor Street is perfect for fans of Agatha Christie and Maureen Johnson. I do kind of question Agatha Christie. I feel like the glitzy vibe, because of so much of Christie's kind of happens in a period era. Poor little Leo, he just wants attention so bad. I may have to go get him here in just a second. Do you need me to come get you, honey? Maybe. He's looking at me, so I think he's thinking about it. Oh yeah, he wants me to go get him. Hang on 2 seconds. I can usually tell by his little, I don't know if they're kind of like chirps or little, I don't know what you would call that, but that's how I can usually tell when he would like a little bit of attention. Like I haven't spent a good portion of the day with him. So I'm going to turn him like that so he can lay nice and flat and not hit the desk. So here we go with more of the summary. Pier Sail knows what she to become a detective. That's what that sentence says. Pier Sail knows what she to become a detective. Pier Sail knows she wants to become a detective. We're missing a word there. After all, she's already solved the case of her missing best friend, and there's no shortage of crime in 1920s Chicago. But for an 18-year-old society girl, even one who's currently dating a police officer, it simply isn't done. Woo. That is, until a girl asks her to dig into her brother's recent death. The police ruled it a suicide, but she's convinced it was murder, and she wants Piper to help her prove it. In this companion to The Lost Girl of Astor Street, Piper once again grabs her notebook and plunges into the underworld of mafia-controlled Chicago. But she'll need all her wits and courage if she wants to become the secret investigator of Astor Street. So it is considered historical, mystery, and historical fiction. It's approximately 384 pages in hardcover, and it is expected publication of August 5th, 2025. Now, personally, I had quite a few books due on August 5th, so I had to get quite a few of those written or read ahead of time. And as I was getting them scheduled, this will probably be a little closer to the end of the week, just simply because I had so many other books that I needed to also put in and around August 5th. So I'm going to still try to get it in there within a week of its release date, and that is my goal. So this one is, it's really, I thought it was very cute. I thought Piper was a very fun, spunky character. Hairball? Argos is over there. He's acting like he looked like a little hairball. He is a Pomeranian after all, so, I mean, it's possible. But Piper she's very much a go-getter. She is, even though she is of high society, she does not really I don't know. I don't want to say I don't think she's above like things because I don't think that's her mindset. But she's really a determined go-getter. So in the first book, she was like investigating the disappearance of her best friend. I'm probably going to spoil the first book. That is probably the one that will end up getting spoiled because not only because I didn't read it, but because if you haven't read that one and then you read this one, you will just find out the answers, the truth. And so let me go ahead, pull that band-aid off for you. Her best friend didn't make it. And so she is still pretty much grieving the loss of her best friend. And Piper, according to whatever happened in that particular book, in one particular instance, she got a scar on her face. So now she actually has a scar on her kind of marring her face, and she's a little self-conscious about it. I don't think that means in any way that she is has thinks of herself as ugly or anything of that nature. I just think she's more aware of her looks and the fact that she is now kind of marred, and that her investigations are not always safe. I think that's also a very good sort of thought, is that they're not always the safest things for her to do. She is dating a particular character from the first book. His name is Mariano. And funny enough, when I lived in Chicago, because I do love books set in Chicago, I find them to just be familiar to me because I recognize some of the settings and locations and things of that street, because Astor Street is a real street in Chicago. Now, some of the locations they mention maybe aren't real, but some of the locations they mention at least were real at that time. I don't think they're still, like, I don't know if Marshall Fields is still there or the BG sandwich shop, but yeah. So just throwing that out there, that she does. I think that's also where some of the historical fiction comes in, is there were mafia in Chicago, probably still is mafia in Chicago at this particular time. But at that time, it was also very much, since it was Prohibition era, they, they made their money somehow. Maybe we're paying off cops. Maybe we're doing gambling, behind the scenes. Maybe we're selling alcohol or, what have you. But they would do whatever they could to really, I guess, squeeze the money out of the people who had it. And so, as Piper starts to investigate, she gets a job at her old school, her old high school, which is like Preston's Academy for Girls. And though she has graduated, she is now like an administrative assistant for this particular school, kind of like the school secretary. And so she's constantly in the front office when one of her friends, and her friend's name is Emma, tells her that she has a friend named Louise, so friend of a friend, whose brother has, within the past couple months, had been thought to have committed suicide. I'm going to try to lay him down real quick so he's just not standing the whole time. Well, Louise is utterly convinced. She's like, no, I know my brother. He would have never. He was in a good place. The breakup that he had recently was not it didn't affect him all that much. Like, he was affected, but it wasn't that bad. He was getting over it. He's totally fine. And so Piper, she's like, sometimes people just don't know. And she's like, no. Louise is like, I know my brother. He didn't do it. I need you to look into it. I will pay you. And so Piper's like, well, okay, I'll look into it. Like, that'll be case number 2. And she's like, just look, just be aware that I may uncover stuff that you don't like, but I'm going to try to get you the truth. So Piper starts investigating, and apparently her brother was working at Fox Smoke Shop. Well, of course, Louise thinks this smoke shop is really a smoke shop, just a place where people can go lounge around and smoke cigars. Well, it's not. It is more like a speakeasy / gambling den. And so it's a little bit more scandalous than, of course, apparently he had made it out to his family, but he was making really good money there. Louise also turns over quite a bit of his possessions in order for Piper to look through. So she's got like bank records that he had, some old, like, some various notebooks and things. So she's got a couple things of the guy who's passed to be able to start kind of looking into him as a person. And one of the things she does is goes to like the apartment to kind of go see where the deed was done. And she's like, okay, well, they think he mixed it into his scotch or something and drank it, and finds out that he had offed himself, self-exited with arsenic or rat poison. And they thought, okay, well, he must have just, he mixed it into like, his drink or whatever, and so that's how he took it. So the police, again, ruled it as a suicide because they were like, yeah, sure, fine, that's plausible enough. And they kind of move on. They don't even really look too hard into it because they were like, well, he was kicked out of school for cheating. Him and his girlfriend broke up a little bit ago. He must have been depressed. Like, they were like, open and shut case, done. Well, Louise, again, said, no, my brother never would have cheated in school. He made straight A's. He was a really good student. He excelled at school. He would have never cheated. He wouldn't have had to, wouldn't have needed to. And so that's curious because why did he get kicked out of school then for cheating if he didn't cheat? So all these things are kind of coming up, and the more Piper looks into it and the more she realizes Clarence probably didn't, she's really on the fence because there is a high probability that people with depression can mask that, and maybe it just became too much. But some of the things around his death are a little odd. He seemed very meticulous in his notes. He would even record in his bank ledger when he bought socks. And he had bought socks the day before his supposed self-exit. And so Piper thinks that's very strange because why would someone buy socks if they knew that they probably weren't going to be around for much longer? He had also made plans with another girl to go on another date. And again, Piper's kind of confused. She's like, well, why would he make future plans if he never had intent of following through? So she's like, okay, potentially I can see that he maybe didn't do this. But now we've got to dig into, well, who would have done it and why? And so she starts looking into people at the smoke shop. She starts trying to think about the school and some of the situations around that. And so all of this is kind of culminating to really still high probability that, okay, maybe he did it, but there's still this lingering, nagging annoyance to Piper of all of these little things that don't add up. He had received $500 from his job for services rendered. He put services rendered, and she comes to find out that he helped the boss of the smoke shop find someone who was stealing money. And so the boss paid Clarence $500 for services rendered. It's probably saved him more in the long run than paying out the $500. And so there was a note in his ledger that $500 for services rendered. However, there was also a note for minus $500 with no note of any kind. And again, he was very meticulous about documenting dinner with E, buying the socks, or drinks with the guys. He would make a note of what everything was for. So at this particular time, $500 would have potentially bought you a car, several months' rent in a high society apartment. Because for Piper, she's getting paid 15 cents an hour to be a private investigator, but she's only getting paid $6 a week at the school. So $500 is a really substantial amount at this particular time. And it's what the book calls a life-changing amount. So she's really looking into that as well. Like, where did this money go? So again, there are several other people in the works and throughout the book that are very interesting to look at. But again, I'm trying to dance around like leaving those people in the shadows. So if you read it, I don't want to like point you in any direction of highlighting any of them. Let's just say I called it. By the end of it, I was like, I knew it. And that's just my thought. But if this sounds like something that's up your alley, cozy mystery, likable characters, and even though she is definitely someone who's probably putting herself into too much danger too frequently, I can definitely see the heart that goes into it to trying to solve these mysteries. I am certainly looking forward to another book, an installment, because we do leave off the final pages with another girl coming to Piper asking for help and they don't really clarify on what the case may be. But Piper switching gears from her school secretary to her private investigator notebook and taking the case. So I would love to see what else Piper gets into. But again, I am not sure at this time if I'm going to pick up book number 1. I might, and I'm never going to take that off the table. If I run across that book, then I will probably pick it up. Like, I am never against picking up a book if I've already read something by the author that entertained me. So there are a lot of historical references. If you like the city of Chicago, this has got some fun references. Now, I never lived in 1920s Chicago, but 2015 to like 2019, those were my years, and I really loved it. I loved wandering that city. Even the winters, as brutal as they are, the summer really makes up for the winters, and the winters can be super pretty as well. Like, there's just something magically beautiful about snow falling, and it's so quiet, and everything just has a hush, and you see the snow falling in the street lights, and I don't know, I find magic in that. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I certainly hope you will. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one.